Well, after a strange week of technical difficulties, we are back, and I have lots of information to share: Paramount news, birthdays, more stuff about Discovery, and of course, Legacy. Welcome back to the Star Trek Void, where I try to fill in the gaps between new episodes with a little bit of news and information, and hopefully a little bit of entertainment. And as per usual, we're going to start with some of those birthdays over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah. A lot of these are provided by TrekMovies.com. This one included happy birthday to director, screenwriter, actor David Cronenberg, who plays the mysterious Kovich on Star Trek Discovery. And yes, he will be in the final season, which premieres next month. A lot of hashtags going for this one, so very happy birthday to David. And another birthday, happy birthday to Susan Bay, who played Rear Admiral Rollman in 2 episodes of Star Trek DS9. She's also a writer and director, and Leonard Nimoy's widow. Moving right along, happy birthday to J.G. Hertzler. Join us in wishing a happy birthday to Chancellor of the Klingon Empire, J.G. Hertzler. Catch up on our recent chat with him below. I'll include that link below for you guys, and this one was shared by the Clone Star podcast. And back to TrekMovies.com. Happy birthday to Connor Trenier, Commander Charles Trip Tucker III, Chief Engineer of Enterprise NX-01 on Star Trek Enterprise. What's your favorite Trip-centric episode? And does it involve wrist nipples? That isn't my favorite episode, although I do appreciate that as someone who has had 4 children. My favorite one is the Sim episode, where he is cloned genetically, and I believe that is one of the top ways we could bring back Trip if we wanted to, is to just make another clone. But see, we'd only be able to clone him to one age, and Connor has aged very nicely, but he's a little older now, and I don't think he'd pull off the same look. They'd have to do some sort of sci-fi explanation as to why he looks older, kind of like they've been doing with Data and Brent Spiner. And I've got a remembrance birthday here. This is remembering Anton Yelchin, who is, of course, our reboot Chekhov, who he did a really good job. I still don't think he looked like Chekhov, but boy, he pulled off the personality and stuff really well. TrekMovie.com shares this one as well, remembering actor, musician, and photographer Anton Yelchin on his birthday. He won our hearts as Chekhov in the 3 J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies and was gone much too soon. He would have turned 35 today. Yeah, that's probably one of the more upsetting losses, not because we didn't care about the others, but because it was just so freaking shocking. He was so young. So definitely worth a remembrance, worth a mention today. And also, I will have some news on upcoming movies. But first, we're going to celebrate the fact that Star Trek does what it's been doing best, and that is being nominated for yet more awards. We've got more for Star Trek Strange New Worlds and for Picard here. I'll have to do a little scrolling so you can read along, but Star Trek new award nominations. Star Trek Picard has picked up 5 more award nominations today in the Critics' Choice Super Awards. Strange New Worlds also picked up a further 3 nominations. And I wanted to give you a better view of these. Picard has Best Sci-Fi Series nomination. Patrick Stewart and Todd Stashwick both have Best Actors in a Sci-Fi Fantasy Series nomination. Jerry Ryan, of course, Best Actress in a Sci-Fi Fantasy Series. And Amanda Plummer, Best Villain in a Series. Television, that is. With Strange New Worlds, we have Best Sci-Fi Fantasy Series as well. Anson Mount is nominated for Best Actor in a Sci-Fi Fantasy Series, and Celia Rose Goodwin, Best Actress in a Sci-Fi Fantasy Series. And she did a fantastic job this last year. Really happy to see her up for another nomination. Let's hope that some of our actors and shows that weren't able to walk away with an award for the Saturn Awards get to have one here, because it's great that everyone's nominated. I'd like to see everybody get a little bit more in the form of a tangible award. And now a moment to highlight one of the fan arts that I came across. I really liked this one in particular. There are always so many different pieces of art to choose from each week, because we fans, we love to show our love. This one by Glojo at Glojo Cushing, Captain 7, Star Trek Picard, Voyager, and Legacy. A lot of hashtags here, but you can see Jerry in all of her 7 of 9 glory and in different versions. We've got World War II version when they were trapped and being hunted by the Hirogen on a daily basis on Voyager. We have got Going Out for a Day, up there at the top here. I thought it was the red dress, but no, it's purple. I'm not recalling from which episode that is from. But of course, we have Commander 7. She's only got 3 pips, so can't call her captain yet, but we do see her as captain later on. I loved this piece of art. It was really great. I need to know the technique people use to turn pictures into almost a well drawn or painted or almost cartoon version. I'd love to be able to do that. I'm just not that good at my Photoshop, which is probably why I like to share these. I have such an appreciation for the time and effort it takes to put an artistic spin on what is generally often just a photo or a still during an episode. Speaking of series, we've talked before about season 2 of Picard, how it just didn't really fit. And now we kind of know why. And a big part of it was COVID, but a lot of it was just people being picky. And this article at trekmovie.com tells us a little bit about it. Now, this article discusses, among other things, the fact that season 1 was kind of costly. And so Metalis was encouraged, let's say, to bring the cost down for season 2, which is why, even though some of the initial ideas didn't have it, we got a time travel season. We got one where they come to modern times, which does cut down on some of the graphics and effects and stunts, just all of the stuff that ends up costing more because we are in space. Less sets, just less to worry about. But of course, COVID sort of messed everything up for every television production. And of course, Picard was no different. And we've got this quote explaining some of that. COVID beat us up. We had to rewrite season 2. We had to try and find ways to make things cheaper. So we actually burned into our clock on season 3 because we were struggling. Like if one person on the crew got sick at that point, the union rules were that you had to shut down. It wasn't until very late in the game after we had shot the first half of season 2 before we split off to work on season 3. You're running out of time. And as far as those changes to season 2, he has this to say. There's actually many different versions of season 2. I think you can kind of feel it when you watch season 2 that there's a lot of different ideas here. But now this part is the part that I think irks most of us. Season 2 was rewritten because the first version was too Trek. And this is according to Paramount, not the fans. We wrote 9 episodes at one point and the network was like, no, we don't really understand this. It's a bit too sci-fi. It's a bit too in Star Trek. And just to add to our annoyance, Terry shares some of those details for us, the ones that got written out. There were Romulans. There was this whole thing. The idea was that Guinan's bar was presented as a normal bar in Los Angeles. But if you knew the right thing to do, you could go into the back through the phone booth. Oh, that's very Harry Potter. And that was Rick's Cafe. And it was a stopping point for all these different species that were actually there on Earth with a do no interfere thing happening. So you had a lot more Star Trek happening in the backdrop of it. Ultimately, the powers that be at that time were like, this is too much, but there were some really good ideas there that were pretty cool. This particular article also goes on to explain a bit about the Jurati Borg and why they didn't come and interfere with things that were going to happen in the future, like Wolf 359. They were an offshoot, that was their job. And of course, if you do want to read the full article, please go ahead and check the links below because you know it'll be there. But the idea that it was too Star Trek, that just annoys me. And I honestly think that we will see some of these elements in future Star Trek. I mean, we've got Legacy coming up, whether they like it or not. More on that here in a bit. But first, I want to check out this post on Twitter from Trek Central. Disco Season TNG Easter egg. A new, now deleted interview with franchise boss Alex Kurtzman teases that Star Trek Discovery Season 5 hangs on a major TNG Easter egg. Quite the tease, especially when given the Romulan connection. What could that Easter egg be? And there are some fun guesses in the comments below. Here's one guessing that might have to do with the episode The Chase, which was a really good episode. I just rewatched it because I was like, oh yeah, that is a good one. And other than the fact that it sort of explains where we all come from in a sci-fi way, I'm not sure that there's enough Romulan stuff Easter egg wise for it to have a connection. However, we also know that when Paramount or whoever tells us this is what the show is about, that usually only covers like the first couple of episodes and isn't really what the entire season is about. So we may get introduced to this mystery by a Romulan artifact, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a Romulan mystery. Of course, there are the usual guesses that it's all taking place on a holodeck, and at the end it'll be Riker showing us a nice little holodeck thing. I don't think they're going to do Enterprise again. And there's also this comment by Simon1701. There was a trailer that's already been deleted. It shows a person that looks like a Soong android. Maybe that's what he meant. Asha, your guess. Maybe she was frozen. My favorite guess is the Iconians, because we all still want to know who the heck the Iconians were. We would like to see something about their origin. Let's go flashbacks or time travel, anything. I'll take it if it tells us something about the Iconians. But I don't think we can call that a TNG Easter egg because the Iconians have been around since TOS. So Once again, all I have to say is we're going to have to wait and find out. Isn't that annoying? We also got some information about Star Trek Academy. Again, let's just say that the people making it are very aware that we adults and mature Trek fans are really not having high expectations for this show. They're doing their best to try and make sure that it does attract the old fans, but yeah, I don't know. I'll be watching it, obviously, because I watch everything Trek. How involved I will get and passionate I will be about it, that's yet to be determined. But this article on Collider does give us some information, including the fact that it will be a 10-episode run, much like any of the new regular shows, except for the first season of Discovery. We got away with a few more episodes there. It could end up airing in 2026, according to this quote here. That has to do with the fact that they've got a 6-month shooting schedule, and that's after they've created the sets, which will take 8 months. It's going to take time, though the writing is in progress. We all know Tawny Newsome is part of the writing team. But none of the kids in the Academy have been cast yet, although most of the adult roles have. We know that Mary Weissman will, of course, be coming back as Tilly after interest has been piqued by the new Starfleet Academy being built and put together, and she becomes interested in teaching. But the kids themselves, they haven't been cast, although we're getting ideas that the type of characters we're going to get are going to be varied, from kids who really desperately want to be there and be a part of Starfleet to ones who could be interested in pretty much anything else. We also aren't sure, but we think that it's possible that if the show goes on long enough for these cadets to graduate, we may be following some of their careers as well. But I think to get our interest, we mature Trek fans, they're going to have to be some really interesting adult characters. The teen drama, it's interesting, but only for so long. And now about Star Trek coming to our big screens. Yes, according to this article by TrekMovie.com, Paramount has a plan to bring Star Trek back to the big screen, says Roddenberry Entertainment exec. I'm not going to quote this one as much as I've been quoting the other ones because as far as the new information goes, there isn't tons. But instead of just talking about there being a prequel to the 2009 reboot, they're also talking about working on a 4th movie as well. Whether that's to come out one after the other at the same time, spread by 2 years, who knows? They don't know either. But according to this article, there is an intent to get back on the big screen, and those two ideas are the ones that they are hoping to pull off. This is the one quote I will give you, though, because it sort of says it all. And I will tell you that you want to do it the right way, and yet practical things get in the way. People a lot of times are like, oh, why isn't this happening or that happening? And sometimes those questions are really good questions. And other times there's a lot you don't know that is happening behind the scenes that can make things more difficult than you'd think. So in all, we are getting there to my understanding, and we are excited, and plans are being put in place. And I know that from the standpoint of the studio, there's no lack of recognition of wanting and needing a Star Trek film coming out. This article also mentions Toby Hames as possible director. So there is something in the ideas and minds of those who are in charge. I think that they just have so many other projects on the small screen right now, it's difficult for them to focus on big screen projects. Speaking of things we want on the small screen, yes, it is Legacy time. And the CBS chief says Star Trek remains a priority for Paramount, answers why Legacy has not been greenlit. And I will say that the only quote in this entire article that has anything even mildly to do with Legacy doesn't actually talk about Legacy. But we can infer from this article that they are looking at the big picture, things that they'd like to have come out a few years from now. So while we aren't talking about Legacy being greenlit now, I do believe that it's on the minds of the people who make these decisions. But if I had to guess, even Comic-Con in San Diego this summer is going to be too soon for us to get an announcement. They aren't going to want to take away the excitement for either Section 31 or Academy. And quite frankly, we might get a movie before we get an announcement for Legacy, or at least before we get Legacy. Now, whenever I chat about Legacy on here, somebody invariably asks, what do the stars want to do? And I have heard multiple stars say they absolutely want to do it. But I will say that the one star that we have not heard a lot from, or at least I haven't heard from too much, was Ed Speleers. And Ed Speleers has made his opinion known this past week or so.
What has it meant to you to see how, I don't want to say obsessive, but passionate fans have been about trying to will into existence Star Trek Legacy?
It's a funny one, Maggie, because sometimes I wake up with huge warmth and a great sense of appreciation towards that. And other times I'm almost frustrated that we're not there. Because you when you talk to the people that have been so enraptured by that final season, and the desire to tell more stories for Jack. I think the thing is there's still so many stories that can be told for Jack Crusher, and it's teed up. And I do believe it will happen at some point, and I feel that we will get there. But I think that people have just got to keep being noisy about it. I mean, I absolutely loved playing that role. And I think if I could do that for another 10, 15, 20 years, I hands down would. That part, I feel like I've still got so much to offer with him.
Now, for copyright reasons, I can't show you that whole interview, but you can tell that he is exceedingly excited to not only be able to continue the story if possible, but to continue it for years. And once you're in Star Trek, you're in Star Trek forever. It's a good thing that he's ready to commit years, because years is probably what he's going to get out of it, whether he wanted to or not. It is part of the deal when you become a Star Trek actor. And he wants to be a part of it into the future. Now below, I am also going to include the link to the article for this interview so that you can read the full thing. But I think that clip really says it all that I wanted to say. I did want to show you something else very cool. This was made by Joshua Reeve. And if you don't follow Joshua Reeve on Twitter, you absolutely should. He has been doing a lot of promoting for Legacy on a daily basis. And apparently he had wanted to do a little something special since so many people have made their own little intros. Now, I've seen quite a few Legacy intros made by fans, and I have got to say, this one is probably my favorite. It uses all of the elements that we've seen other people put together, but it puts it together so well. It really does look like it could be the title scene for the series. Now, what he's used are the clips from season 3 of Picard. He's made his own graphic for Legacy, but I really enjoy how he put together the character names, or the actor names, I should say. Let's take a look at pieces of this. I cannot show it in whole for copyright reasons, but these are the elements that I think they're just so incredible. All right, if you look at the beginning here, of course, we have very familiar clips from episodes of the Next Generation. I almost said Next Generation, but of multiple series, actually. And he's cut them together really well so that it could work for a current series. We've got some ships that we are very familiar with, and some that we hadn't seen very often in previous cuts. Skipping ahead here, of course, we don't know what she's going to say coming as they go into warp, but this is the graphic that he had put together for this one, and I really enjoy the light coming back to it. We got our hashtag for Star Trek Legacy here, but very classic Trek font, and these are the names of, say, your episode and the actors. If you look at the fine print, I should say, we usually see bold print. I really, really like these. I don't know how it would work on a small screen setting regularly, but I think choosing this particular color of blue does help it to stand out. We're so used to seeing the very bold font for our actors and the intro. So I think this was a really nice choice. And again, clipped together really well. All right, now I've made this so you can fits the screen just so you can see this is made by Joshua Reeve. And again, he has been working very hard to try to promote this series, and he learned how to do this just to make this intro, from what I understand. Fantastic, Joshua. I thank you so much for your contribution to the movement to make Star Trek Legacy a reality. For my part, as you know, I will be heading to Indianapolis tomorrow night, actually. And hopefully tomorrow night would be tonight, because I plan to have this video out on Thursday. And I'll be promoting Legacy, trying to get signatures on letters, trying to hand out bracelets so other people will spread the word. We've got bracelets, I've got cards with QR codes, I've got all kinds of stuff. I'm not quite done printing the things I need for the table that I'm still waiting to see if we get last minute. If not, I've got a cart that I'm going to be hauling around with me, all of the items that are necessary to make this mission a success. So I want to thank once again all of you who have contributed a little bit of money as donors. Please do check out any live feeds that come out of my Instagram, my Twitter, or out of this channel, because I will be planning on going live at least once, although at this point I think I've been talked into doing it at least 3 times. It should be interesting. So please do check it out. Check out the Letters for Legacy website if you have not, and send in your own letter. And if you're going to be at the Indiana Comic Con, please find me, I will be somewhere on the floor, generally easily identifiable by the hair. And obviously, I'll be wearing something Star Trek related. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the format, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe for more content, hit that notifications bell so you know when new videos come out. Be aware that I do Outlander videos as well as other things that just sort of tickle my fancy because it's my channel and I can do that. And thank you again to my Patreons and my members. I appreciate your additional support. It helps out quite a bit. I got one of the items that I will be taking with me to the convention because of you. And if you have not gotten enough Star Trek content or are curious about the Outlander content, please check out any other of my videos here, and I will see you there. Who plays the mysterious Kovich on Star Trek Discovery. But we are back with Picard and I can't say words today. A lot of hashtag here's. Now I'm not going to quote this much as I've been. Now I'm not going to quote. Doing the word thing again.